Welcome to Watcher DM. I'm Gabriel. Today I'm going to do a flip through review of the Creating and Adapting Monsters for Use in Shadowdark RPG with Mini Bestiary by Michael Pudlak of Night Noon Games. Yeah, I think this is a really cool little book. I picked it up when Michael did the Kickstarter for it, I believe. And it's just it's just a zine. Like he does things for Shadowdark now, and I think he wanted this, and so he made this. And I think that's the best things we make are the things where like, God, I really need this thing, and so we make it because we need it, and then we share it with people, and that works really really well. So first, before we dive in, I'd like to ask you if you like these kinds of videos, please hit the like button. It helps get these around to more people. Hit the subscribe if you want to see more of them. Hit the bell to get notified when they come out. It'll be every Tuesday for the rest of the year. I'll be delivering these flip through and reviews, or you can catch my Sunday kind of tutorials on randomizers. Or if you want to get early access to these videos, you can go to patreon.com/watcherdm, where I release these to paid patrons a week early, basically. All right, so about this zine. The darkness is scary. However, it isn't the absence of light itself that is so terrifying, but rather knowing what might lurk unseen in the Shadowdark. The zine is meant to codify the unwritten rules of monster creation found by studying every monster from the Shadowdark core rules in the first 3 Cursed Scroll zines. Within it, I present 3 options for adapting your favorite monsters from other games or creating your very own monsters for use in Shadowdark RPG. So, yeah, yours in monster making, Michael Pudlak. Human made, designed for use with Shadowdark from Night Noon Games. Written by Michael Pudlak. We've got art credits here from a ton of artists, including Michael. So awesome that Michael made some art for this. It's super cool. Also see some other names in here that I'm familiar with. So Dean Spencer, of course, famous in the scene for delivering stuff. Kim Diaz, Bradley McDevitt, Jay Shields. Yeah, all kinds of great names in here. The layout was done by Michael Pudlak, based on a template by Sursa Victory. And then, of course, we got our special thanks here. Kim, Kiwi, Cameron, JP, Scott, Laugh Raff, Kelsey, Bob, James Holloway, my 2 weekly game groups, and the Shadowdark community at large, which, I'm going to be generous to myself and say that includes me, because I'm in the Shadowdark community, and yeah, I love this book. I use this. I think it's great. So, preliminary tips, he talks about some really good stuff. These are honestly, these are probably, this is the stuff you should remember always. This could have been a blog post, but damn it, it's so good. So good to have. Vibes over complexity. So, feed the people what they want, but give them the flavor. They came here for the seasoning, right? The complexity of a stat block does not usually translate to the PCs or the players feeling one way or the other about the monster. That's more about you having something crunchy and interesting to do at the table. They're more there for the vibes. And so, yeah, delivering a good, solid fantasy is, I think, the right way to go with this. So, good call out. Use natural language. So, say things that you mean and don't worry too much about the game mechanics language of things. That said, if you're going to be referencing certain things in the game, use consistent language. Which is important. Monster spells are weird, so they won't be like player spells. And, in fact, more than most often, you don't really want to use spells at all. Like, the monster should kind of have abilities that maybe use checks to activate, but are not spells in the way that players would know them. And then rules are meant to be broken. If you're making a monster, like, go ham. Like, you don't have to stick to any formulas. You don't have to stick to any rules. You can make what you want. The most important thing is the fantasy. Let the fantasy and the fiction lead the way. And I think these are all really good advice. And then he provides a couple of options here. So I really like these examples here that he uses, which is to say, here's what a knight looks like in 5th edition. Here's what a bugbear looks like. Here's what a zombie looks like. And then here's how you would make that same thing in Shadowdark, right? Or this is what the thing is in Shadowdark. So if it exists in Shadowdark, just use the equivalent. You don't have to worry about it. But sometimes you need to build by adaptation. So, if you've got a bandit captain, but you only have a bandit stat block, just beef it up a little bit. Give it some sugar. Extra point of armor class in this case. 15 extra hit points. This guy hits, it takes more hits. He's not using a club. He upgraded to a scimitar, and he's been swinging that thing around, so he's got a +3 to his strength. So you can see here that he's taken the simple concepts behind a bandit and upgraded them to a bandit captain without much effort at all. I think this is really good advice. Option 3, build by benchmark. So this option is where things get a little more involved. So things are laid out in steps. Let's say you want to convert a Yak Folk Warrior from 5e's Storm King's Thunder to use in Shadowdark. Notice the challenge rating. For the Yak Folk Warrior, it's 3. So we got a challenge rating 3 here, 700 XP. Find similarly leveled 5e monsters that exist in Shadowdark. So a few challenge rating 3 5e monsters that have Shadowdark equivalents include the Basilisk, the Doppelganger, the Green Sea Hag, the Hellhound, the Minotaur, and the Werewolf. So there's also an unofficial monster list that you can kind of pull, and you only need 2 or 3 of them to kind of get a sense of what's going on there. And then you review the Shadowdark equivalents of these monsters, and you engineer monster stats and talents based on similarly leveled Shadowdark monsters. So you start with the level, determine the AC, you get the 6 stat modifiers, which should be pretty straightforward. You never really want to go too far on these stat modifiers. Shadowdark tends to be pretty even, so your stat modifiers are always going to be within a certain reasonable range. The attacks, talents, and spells come next. This is the big one, because you're really going to want to have this kind of locked in. But you can just rely on existing values and kind of flavor it the way you want it. And then you got your movement and alignment. This should be usually pretty easy to the fiction. You calculate the HP. This is a little bit tricky, but it's knowable. You convert the abilities. This is really hard. So this is probably the hardest part, because you really want those abilities that are represented in the system you're coming from to be rendered in a Shadowdark style. And Shadowdark style is just one of those things. It's like, you know it when you see it, which is super unhelpful. I would argue that you want to reduce additional rolling. So if you're thinking, oh, well, this uses a thing, and then they need to make a con check to not get hit by this thing, and then if they do, it's this much damage with dice, and then if they don't, it's this other amount of damage with dice, or it's divided in half if they save. Like, Shadowdark doesn't have saves, right? So it kind of is like you really want to strip it down to just delivering the fiction, getting some damage if it's damage, having an effect if it's an effect, but don't overcomplicate things. Try and have it be as straightforward as you can be while still delivering the fiction. Finally, write a description. So this is the part where you just write the couple of sentences that really evocatively sells the image of the monster that you're describing. In this case, the Yak Folk Warrior. Ogre-sized humans with yak heads, hooves, and coats. Their innate magic is unique to the mountains they call home. AC 14 leather, HP 29, attack 2, greatsword +5 at D12, or 2 longbow, far +3 at D8. Move near, strength +4, dex +0, con +2, intelligence +2, wisdom +2, charisma +2. Alignment neutral, level 6, possess, 2 times per day, 1 target, close range. Contested charisma check. If the Yak Folk Warrior wins, it inhabits the target's body and takes control for 2d4 rounds. It's super funny, actually, because there's a typo here where up here he says it's a con check, but down here it's a charisma check. I think charisma check is the correct one. Then it goes into talents and spells. So this bit here, he breaks it up into 3 different kind of chunks with innate, ride-alongs, and thematic talents. And then he's got some spell impacts, like spell tier impacts and the adjustments for them. And then you got a talent bank. Now, the innate talents are all kinds of things, but they basically just work. So, like, cannot be surprised, or fire immune, or it's a golem, so it's immune to damage from fire, cold, electrical, and non-magical damage. Things like that. Hear thoughts, right? They just work. Heat aura is kind of interesting. It's like creatures in close, DC 12 con on turn or 1d8 damage. This seems to me pretty fiddly, just because you're basically saying like everyone in range kind of takes damage, but they all have to roll first, and it's on their turn. And so, yeah, it's just another thing to remember. I might replace something like this with like a really straightforward, like, everyone in close takes 2 damage. You just take it. There's no check. You just take it. It does kind of the same thing, but it makes it a little simpler. But you've got all kinds of these. Like, you can just read through this and go like, oh, I'm looking for something that's kind of, okay, monster does not suffer any ill effects from the natural environment. It does not wish to suffer. Like, cool. It can handle strange lands. Also, any of these that you find that you're like, oh, I really like the way this works, just rename it. If you don't like the name, if you want it to be something else, right, you can rename it. I think for the most part, these are all taken directly from the Shadowdark core book. So these are, this is the list of all the talents found in the Shadowdark core rules, organized by type. So then you got your ride-along talents. So these are things that ride along with an attack. So when you attack, plus engulf, or when you attack, plus gore, or when you attack, plus necrosis. So these are the kinds of things where, because it relies on attack, I would say these are the places where it's the most reasonable to expect, okay, now you can roll to maybe, defend against this damage in the case of like, doing strength turns, strength checks for like getting out of grapples or engulfs, right? Knock is like a DC 9 strength or pushed a close distance and fall down. But also, you got some interesting stuff here where it does like directly, damage directly to your stats. So there's some fun ideas in here. And then you've got your thematic talents. These are the ones that you're going to find are like, they kind of define the creature. Fire-breathing dragons. Frost-breathing dragons. Something with a bottomless bag. It can hold endless stuff. Enlarge. Something that can change its size. Drink pain. Why don't I have drink pain? That sounds awesome. I want to drink pain. Near range, DC 12 charisma to deal 2d4 damage to a creature. Regain that many hit points. Wow. Roar. In place of attacks, all creatures who can hear within far. DC 18 charisma or be rendered blind and speechless for 1d4 days. Days, man. Insane. Wall of flame. 1 time per day. 20-foot high curtain of fire. Double near length. Touching it deals 4d8 damage. Lasts 2d4 rounds. All kinds of cool stuff in here. One of them can even cast Wish. Alright, and then you've got your monster spells. So these are the same. You pretty much found all over the place. Most of these spells have some correlation with something in the player's wheelhouse, but also many of them do not. So there's, I think this one here, Null, is one of the ones that I'm just like, oh man, what a crazy, it's kind of like a fix for counterspell in a way. You cast itself, it's a DC 14, hostile spells targeting the monster are DC 18 to cast. It lasts 1d4 rounds. So you can make the PC spells harder to cast. Just such a cool effect. The Riddle spell from the Sphinx, I remember seeing this one. DC 12, one target in far, DC 15 int or stupefied, 1d4 rounds. This is one where I'm like, man, give me an actual riddle though. Tell me the riddle. I don't know. That's the one where I'd be like, I don't know, man. I kind of want my guy to have to solve the riddle. But if you don't want to solve the riddle, maybe you just roll the check. But yeah, you'll find all these in the core rules. They're listed here so that you can quickly snatch and stick together these abilities, spells, and effects on monsters that you create. Then we get into the next section with some art in between. This is the bestiary. So these are more creatures that I think Michael must have needed and found useful, and just put here in order. Obviously, there are some reprints here from the From the core rules, you got Doppelganger here. Highball Pillar. Fuzzle. Covered in long fur with 3 legs, a short torso, and stubby arms. They never stray far from woodland cover. Fuzzle is not impacted by difficult terrain. You got your Ghost, a classic, the Sea Hag. The Vampiric Dragon, Hillel Zintog. Lady of the Deep. Legion of Bones. You got your Knight, your Medusa. Good old Minotaur, Ochre Jelly. Melanged Terror. There's a hodgepodge of animal corpses lashed together with decomposing flora. Psychic Slug. Gotta love that. You got a Pyromancer, a Fire Wizard. Pseudo Dragon. Yeah, you got your Stingbat down here with some fresh Stingbat art. Sahuagin. Scorpions are in here. Some treants. You got your Yak Folk Warrior, your zombies. Your Vai, a squat, hairy, hulking brute with limbs made of sinewy roots and an iron face, often summoned by a witch in their dying days. Its eyelids reach to the ground. Ground eyelids. Pretty wild. You got your appendix. So a monster generator. Appendix 2, a monster mash. So if you want to smash together a couple of monsters, you could roll, maybe get a fox ghost or a gorilla 10-eyed oracle. And then, probably the most useful thing in the book is the quick combat stats. If you need a monster of a certain level, you just grab these. Just grab the stats and go. You don't need anything else. Maybe you want to grab the stats and then, pick a random ability, right? And then go. So this one's got Bewilder. This one's got Swallow. Whatever. You just pick a thing and you go. All right. That is the flip-through review of creating and adapting monsters for use in Shadowdark RPG with Many Bestiary by Michael Putlock, Night Noon Games. I really enjoyed this. I think this is a great book. I've used this a few times for a couple of things that I've made. I know I turn to it when I need to think about Shadowdark Monsters because it really helps me to clarify my thoughts and pin down what I think is most important about designing a good monster for Shadowdark, which is delivering a good fantasy, delivering a good fiction, making my players feel like the tension is real and like the terror is there. And I think using the guidance in this book, I've been able to do that over and over again. So thank you so much, Michael, for making this. And thank you for hanging out and watching my flip through and review of it. I hope I see you in the next one. Thanks a lot for playing.